So I've got a very, very different video for you guys today. And I think I know I keep saying this, but I do believe this is going to be one of the most valuable videos on the channel. Reason being is because I got invited to speak at a mastermind event hosted by Michael Gardner. And I got him to record the entire event because obviously I understand that not everybody can afford a $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 mastermind event. So that you guys on this YouTube channel could get the same value that the paying attendees of the mastermind got. So I'm going to basically cut all of the intro. There's no introduction and whatnot. There's probably about a 10-15 minute introductory before what you're going to see. I'm going to cut all that out. I'm just going to cut straight to the value and get straight into it so that you're spending your time in the most efficient way. So with that being said, as always, go ahead and smash the like button. People literally paid for this information at the mastermind, and I'm basically giving it away all to you completely for free inside of this video. So all I ask in return is you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, enjoy the video.
Did you ever like plateau? Like I see a lot of agency owners where they get to like say 10K and just stay there for a long time. And it seems like there's a ton of agency owners at 0 and a ton at 10K, and fewer ever like shoot off. It seems like you did kind of shoot off. What do you think? Were you ever stuck at like the 10K mark, or what took you from doing good to like doing great, would you say?
Yeah, it's I didn't really ever hit a plateau as such. Now I inject them into my agency. I just came out of one where we signed one client over like 2-3 month period. But that was intentional. I can get onto why here in a minute. But as I said, I didn't hit a plateau at 10K a month. I hit a hard ceiling, which I bounced off, and I went back down to like 5K a month. So what basically happened was I got to 10K a month. I can't remember how many clients I had, but or maybe it was 10 clients and I was at like 50, whatever it was. I got to a point at around that stage, and I physically, so I was doing all the service delivery myself. I had no team. I was like, no way, I'm getting good results. Like, why would I, palm off the profit? I just keep it for myself. And that was doing okay. And then, as I say, I got to a point where I just, went straight into a wall and bounced straight off. And I ended up losing like 5,000 a month. Something like that. I lost a lot of my agency. And at the time it was a huge punch in the face because I could handle the clients from like a horizontal perspective, but I couldn't go deep. I couldn't go vertical into each client, which resulted in like a loss of results, right? Because you need to go deep, especially in e-com. It's a lot more time intensive. And so I couldn't provide the best results that I once was. So at that point, I bounced back down, and then I started to rebuild the correct way, introducing a team member, ramping him up, and really building a team properly. And that's why one of the biggest things that I preach now is having a solid team in the back end, because it's just, to me, it's the most important thing. So that enabled me to shoot up at that point, but I had to go through that huge dip, or it was a huge dip at the time, to shoot up. And then that got me to 25, 30, and so on. And then just recently, as I say, I went through a 2-month kind of, I suppose you could call it a plateau. I wouldn't call it a plateau because I like kind of injected it. I made it happen. But that was to hire again, a second media buyer, and now I'm ramping him up. So I definitely, now I have my plateaus. I have my maintaining periods, but that basically enables me to fuel the ramping periods and do it in a way that works for us as the agency, and we're growing, but also client results are still on par, if not getting better and better and better. That's another thing that I think is the most important, is the client the client themselves and the results that they get. I think so many people look at like the agency as like, oh, I signed this new client, 4,000 a month, and then they kind of neglect the service delivery, or they think about the worst thing I hear sometimes, and I'm like, oh, what is going on? That when people say, don't worry about service delivery, just focus on the sales, just focus on selling the 4K package. It's like, are you serious right now? Are you serious right now? What are you doing? You are going to lose that client in 30 days. If you're lucky, you'll keep the 4K. They may ask for a refund, but that's it. You're not going to get that money again next month. You're not going to get the 4K a month, a 4K retain the next month and the next month and next month and next month. And then people wonder why the retention rate is so bad and why they're constantly spinning their wheels. They sign a client and then one leaves, sign two more, three leave. They're not getting anywhere. And that may be a part of why so many people kind of get to 10K and can't shoot up, because they're not stacking clients. They're just going through kind of like they're just spinning their wheels. They're not getting anywhere. It's like a hamster on one of those wheel things, right? When they just keep running, not getting anywhere. Maybe that's why they plateau at a certain point. But I would say that's the two biggest things for me: client themselves and the team.
I've seen that a ton, especially because I do cold email for some people, and I actually have it now where if somebody does want to work with me, I have like a little application process. And one of the questions is, what is your retention? And I've had probably 50 people go for this application process now. And I'm working with just a very small amount of agencies. And the retention, it's always shocking how you have agencies normally like 10 to 20K who the retention is like 3 months or 4 months. And really, they just have a sales agency. They don't really have a marketing agency. They just, it's churn and burn. So I get much more excited when I see like even a freelancer who applies, but the retention is like 8 or 9 months. Because really you think about
it's because you focus on the service.
Yeah. I mean, you think about what a client's worth if you can keep them. But I'm sure everybody's done it here. Like they've stacked the numbers in their head. If I get one client each month, by the end of a year, I'll have 12 clients, but that doesn't account for if they drop. So that retention is really, really important. And those are all the like set questions I wanted to ask you, Kai, for myself. But for everybody here, I know we have a lot of guys that are in e-com here. That's some other guys that are just doing, other types of agencies. If we open up for a bit of like a Q&A just to pick your brain.
Yeah, so I have a short question. So Kai, you currently have 2 media buyers, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you go about training them? Like, do you still micromanage them, like in terms of looking at your ad accounts yourself a lot, like especially for the new media buyer?
Yeah, good question. So I basically have like a 3-month ramping process where I'm very heavily, that 3-month ramping process basically takes somebody from wherever they're at. There's different stages and whatnot, but turns them into a fully ramped media buyer where I don't need to really look in client ad accounts or anything. Before I hired my second one, I didn't launch an ad. I didn't launch a campaign. I didn't really go into client ad accounts for like a year. Right. And then when I've now hired my second media buyer, I'm very hands-on. Every day we're hopping on a call and we're going through client ad accounts and obviously digging deep. I kind of go into the client ad accounts and we really just go through the processes and I walk them through. I show them exactly what to do. And as I say, there's like a 3-month process. Each month kind of entails something different. But it's mainly about them kind of viewing how you go about certain things, what you're doing, the processes and whatnot, but they're not touching anything. They're not really got any inputs. Then it goes to a process where you're still implementing on everything, but they're giving you some inputs. They're giving you some ideas on what to do. And then it kind of flips. So they start to take more, I don't know what the term is. They just start to do more action in the ad account, start to actually run the ad, get familiar with moving around and how to do this, that, and whatever else. And then from there, it's kind of, they then kind of go out into the fully ramped media buyer section. So yeah, it's a pretty in-depth process, but again, it depends on where they're at as well, like where their initial or what their initial foundation is. For example, my first media buyer I hired, he was pretty confident in an ad account. He'd ran ads himself in the past and whatnot. So that wasn't too much of a intense process of ramping him. Whereas the second media buyer, he was very knowledgeable on the theory side of things, but he'd never been inside a real ad account before. So that was a lot more kind of, I suppose like operational in the ad account as opposed to like the ideas, because you understood that. It was just more, operational.
Awesome. Thank you.
For sure. Hopefully that answered your question.
I'm curious about Kai. What would make you hire somebody who hasn't been inside an ad account? Was it somebody who'd been like an expert at advertising and other platforms or something?
No. So as I said, my most important kind of, or the most important thing that I see when running an agency or to be honest, any business, right, is the client or the customer and the team. Now the team, I don't put that much emphasis on experience. I don't really care about experience. What I care about is team members' initiative, their personality, their values, and where they are. Do they just want to make a load of money and kind of don't care, or do they have different values? Their passions, right? Somebody who deeply loves advertising and has a deep passion for advertising and human psychology and understanding why people do X, Y, and Z and why they buy this, why they won't buy that. Somebody who has a deep passion for that will all day absolutely crush somebody who's got 9 years of advertising experience. I don't care about the advertising experience side, because again, as you said before, you guys obviously think very long term. I'm 100% the same way. I've got a saying where don't look at your agency in 5 month stints, rather in 5 year stints. I do the same. So over the course of a 5 year period with team member A, who has no experience but is a perfect fit on the initiative side and personality side, that type of stuff, and then team member B, who's got 9 years experience, and they just kind of they're not a great fit from a cultural standpoint. Team member A is going to produce far better results in the long term. That's what I care about, and that's one of my, as I say, my recent hire. He's just, the cultural fit is amazing. His values are 100% aligned with the values that I've set at Bax Consulting, which makes it very, very easy to drill them in because they're already there. He just operates kind of normally, and it's in line with what we want to do, which makes us move quicker, and all that type of stuff. Obviously, one of the biggest values is what's in the client's best interest is best for everyone, and stuff like that. When it's already ingrained, it's very, very easy to always put the client first. Whereas if somebody completely disagrees with that, then it's a constant process of trying to drill it in. No, don't do that. That's not what's going to get the client the best results. So yeah, over the long run, team member A in that instance would always be better.
That's interesting. I think that's cool that you're prioritizing values. I actually don't see that as much as you think. Normally it's people looking for whoever's the most experienced, so that's cool to hear that angle.
Yeah, but I mean, experience can be generated in a year. You've got a year's experience at that point, right? Whereas in a year's time with somebody else, that doesn't mean to say that they've got a year's worth of integration with your agency. They could be still completely left field to what it is that you want to do. Things like tactics and stuff like that. There is an element of just having, not being born with it, but like that idea, right? It's kind of ingrained naturally. For example, my newest hire is a great copywriter. So there's an element of that, but everything else can be taught. Like it can be taught in 3 months. That's why I've got a 3-month ramping process, because it ramps somebody entirely up in a 3-month period. I'm fine to be a lot more active in client ad accounts. I've been tremendously busy this past 2 months, but it's completely fine. I'm fine to do that for a 3-month period, because I know after he's going to be an absolutely savage media buyer, and it's going to be entirely aligned with kind of how we operate and what we want to be, what we want to achieve, and our mission and all that. It's going to be entirely aligned. So to me, that's far more important. Just put in the work for 3 months to ramp somebody, rather than looking for the most experience straight off the bat.
That's cool. I like that response. Definitely shows that you're focusing not on right now, but in the future, which I think is something that is less common. So that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. As I said to you at the start of the call, I don't look at it as a SMMA or like well, I suppose it's an agency, but I look at it more as a company, as a actual business or an organization. I think when you do that, automatically straight off the bat, you start to really separate yourself from all the other competition as well.
All right, sweet. Let's open up some more questions.
Yes, I had a question. I was wondering what's really moving the needle for you, because I'm at like 8 to 10K a month and it's all going well, but I was thinking you're doing really well on like a higher scale. What's moving the needle for your business in general?
I think a combination of a lot of different things. As I say, having a really good, obviously service delivery approach, having really good procedures around how we operate in a service delivery way, being very efficient, being very lean, being very obviously overall effective for the client, having a strong team. I'd be curious, do you have like a team in place for yourself at the moment?
I have like one media buyer now. Yeah, and it's going well. We have like a process in place, but it's still like all over the place a bit, but you have like a lean structure, I think, with like all the steps you have to go through when you close a client, right? And we still
obviously, to move the needle forward, it's a combination of a couple different things, a lot more than we could probably cover here. But the main things that I would say is having a solid service. As I said before, you're not going to get anywhere without having a solid service. If you can't deliver results, doesn't matter how good your team is. Well, your team isn't good in that instance, but it doesn't matter how good your client acquisition is or whatever, right? How lean you are, doesn't matter. That's got to be number one. And the way that you make that number one at scale is by building a true team and a very, very solid team. So you can kind of see the correlation. Building procedures, productizing your agency from A to Z. That's something that's super, super good at scale, because obviously if you start to generate any fat at scale, it's going to produce lag, and it's going to become extremely clear when you try to ramp up. It's going to really, really hurt how quick you can move. The way that you kind of combat that is to productize everything from A to Z. And I would say that obviously is more the back end. Front end client acquisition and stuff like that, obviously I would say definitely having solid systems in place where majority is automated, because again, at scale, it becomes very, very difficult to be booking 100% of the meetings that you can get. What I mean by that is oftentimes you're going to be reaching out. And I went through this for a period of time where, we was doing all this outreach and we were sending 100 emails a day, 50 emails a day. It's all amazing. But we was only collecting like 20, 30% of the calls booked because we weren't following up correctly. We weren't, was leaving a lot of money on the table. It's a concept we always say to clients: you need to run ads because you're leaving so much money on the table. But oftentimes people fail to look inward and think, Jesus, I'm leaving a lot of money on the table right now with my agency, So having things like that in place, having back end, like sales processes. One of the big things that I always try and focus on is getting as many touch points on clients as possible or prospects as possible, because literally research has shown that you need 20 to 50 touch points to convert a complete cold prospect into a client. Yeah. So having just a typical 4-part email sequence or a 5-part email sequence, it's good and it works, but you're only getting 4 to 5 touch points, So really building out on those things overall and kind of bringing it together and aligning the stars, that can, have a huge impact and really move that needle forward.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, of course.
What for you was the big drive in changing from the, say, mid-size e-com business structure to going for the bigger name brands that you mentioned about? What drove that shift for you, or was it just holistic?
Well, like I said before, I'm not too bothered about volume, right? Like that's one of the big things about lead gen is it's very volume based. I like that more intimate connection. I like building that very connected team, and that obviously then kind of builds out to clients as well, and building a very, very connected overall agency, having close relationships and whatnot. So the only way to do that at scale is by making more per client. Now, obviously, again, going back to what I said before, it doesn't matter how good of an advertiser you are. Only certain clients, or you can only generate amazing results for certain clients. Usually, the bigger brands are going to have the stronger product market fit. They're going to have the better proof of concept. They're going to have the better sales process. So it was kind of just like a natural progression. But we really did go through all the stages, in terms of like starting small and then obviously using the results that we were getting with those to get the slightly bigger ones and the bigger and the bigger and the bigger. And I suppose that, but then overall as well, it's just, in my opinion, it's just far more cooler to work with bigger brands and more well-known brands and operate with a 3,000 a day spend for this client instead of 300 a day spend. In my mind, that's just a lot more exciting to run the agency overall, because at the end of the day, it's not the most interesting business model. So it's good to make it exciting where you can. And also with the new offer, it tremendously benefits us to have bigger clients who are spending more, because obviously our percentage is on a bigger number.
How did that outreach change from the medium size to the larger size? Was there a difference in mindset and your personal email outreach for those, or was it just pretty much following the same structure?
Yeah, it was very similar from like a client acquisition standpoint. I think the biggest change was just kind of who we was reaching out to from the outbound prospecting side of it, right? I used to have a very strict limit. It was like 100,000 followers and above I wouldn't reach out to because they're probably just too big and whatnot. Now we kind of, go for much bigger brands. Had a booked call the other day with a 1.6 million follower brand. So, it's just about kind of, what's the word? I don't know what I'm trying to look, like putting your branches out to like bigger brands or whatever. And obviously then being able to have those case studies to back it up, because they're not gonna really resonate with a 1,000 spend per month client who you're getting like a 3-row ads for. They're gonna whatever, I mean, I got a reply the other day from a brand saying, and this is probably the next iteration, or evolution, I should say, where they said we're probably going to be 5 times bigger than your biggest client right now. So that was kind of like the next up. However, if we had the right case studies, or if we had that size of case studies for that brand, she would have been interested, So that was probably the biggest difference. Just kind of reaching out to them, obviously just doing it, just reaching out to them, but having having that track record to back it up, because they're a lot more interested in your track record. Have you handled, because brands of that nature are going to be giving you like 5-10 grand a day to spend. They kind of want to know, can you handle it,
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And how do you find the sales structure for those as well? Like, do you find that it's a much longer sales cycle for the big corporates?
Yeah, for sure. I still don't like to bring corporate clients on board though. I know it sounds crazy, like you reach out to brands 10, 20 million or whatever. But yeah, I still don't like corporate clients. So it's a bit difficult because it's you only really start to understand if they're more corporate when you start to your interactions and whatnot, and you start to are you getting past here, you're like, oh god, okay, this is a little bit more corporate. And also even if you do sign them on board, amazing, but then working with them is like pulling teeth. I've had a couple of them and it's just like such a long process. You want to launch a new piece of copy, you want to just do a bit of a different ad variation, it's got to go through them. It takes 5 days, and it's just like, so yeah, it definitely is longer because you got to go through more people, but I still try and do it inside of two calls. Still what we're going for is 2 calls. 1 call ideally, but now with our performance only based pricing, we need to make sure on our end it's like 100% perfect, so we get access to their ads manager and we go off the call, use the numbers, have a look, see if it makes sense. We got a couple calculators and whatnot, and if it makes sense, we'll go back on the call and close them.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think it's funny you mentioned the corporate clients. I had one client on the phone whose biggest client I've got on the phone. It's actually me and a partner got on the call with this client. They do 15 billion a year. It's General Mills, so I think everybody has heard of them. And they mentioned to us that, on the call, everything sounds good. We'd love to see proposals. We can move this process along quite fast. I said, okay, so you're looking to do this quite fast. What timeline are you thinking? And they mentioned 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
So it's definitely part of it. That's all I had.
Yeah, it's a pain, and as I say, even if you do wait the 3-4 months, you get them on board, amazing. But then it's like working with them. As I said before, it's like pulling teeth. Like the time frames, the lead times to get stuff from their end, to get approval. It's got to go through like 19 people. It's just it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's not enjoyable.
I have a quick question then. So you say that you were talking about hiring sort of media buyers before. You say that you were like prioritizing sort of personal like ethics and that over results. So what is the sort of hiring process like? How did you find these people, and sort of what process did you send them through to verify that they were right for you?
Yeah, so one of the big things that I think is different that we do is we put them through almost like a sales process where we sell them, or I sell them on Batch Consulting itself. It's not just about kind of, chucking over a couple messages and getting on a call and seeing what their, case studies are like a lot of people do. And when you're starting out and getting to, 10,000 a month stage, that's more than adequate. But when I was rehiring the second time, more specifically, I really sold them on the vision. And then sent them to, so it's basically like a VSL, right? But not for client acquisition. It's for like, team member acquisition. And from there, basically, I then sent them to a type form, like an application form. And I asked some pretty specific questions that would, or that it elicited responses that kind of gave you an inkling of where their heads are at, what they want to do, where their values are and whatnot. One of the specific ones was if they can support themselves for a 3-month ramping period. Now, of course, I was going to pay them, but I wanted to see from their end, like, are they wanting to just come on and just try and make money as soon as possible, or they like understand that there's a process to it, and that, they actually have, as I said before, a deep love for the they had a deep love for media buying itself. So, different, specific questions like that really draw out those responses, which kind of show you where their values lie. And as I say, the other thing is that hiring VSL that really sells them on, or it doesn't even, it just shows what you stand for. And then from there, it really extrapolates those who align with that. And if they align with that, it's good news for you, whereas if they're like, it's more like, it's not what I thought I could make $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month. It's not what I thought. Then they're just going to bounce anyway. So it really, filters down to the perfect ones. And then from that point, even from the application, then it's like, I had like a first interview. And then on that interview, I did more filtration. And then the ones that came out of that, I gave them a task, right? And that task, again, this shows me, I was looking for competence because obviously it is a part of it. I don't want to have to tell somebody what media buying is, right? I don't want them to be that green. So there is a level of competence that needs to be there. But I was more looking for, as I said before, like work ethic, and are they going to go above and beyond and whatnot. Every single applicant that actually came through this process, this goes to show how good it is. Every single applicant that came through that process blew me away. I was not expecting what I got. Basically, from each applicant, I got anywhere from a 40 to like a 70-minute video detailing the task that I gave them. I was not expecting that. I was expecting maybe like a 20-minute video at max, but everyone blew me out of the water. And again, that shows, kind of their work ethic and whatnot. I remember there was one applicant, actually, that's a lie. There was one applicant who sent me like a 4-minute video, and that really shows you, where people's kind of work ethic is and whatnot.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so Kai, I have like 2 questions for you. So first of all, I really watch your YouTube channel, so congrats on your Audi as well. That was the first video I watched of you. So
which one was it?
The Audi one, the Audi and the Rolex, and that's how you came on my recommendation.
Oh yeah,
the email ones, yeah. So I actually do social media management. So obviously, a lot of you guys do e-com and social media marketing. So I believe that social media management doesn't have a direct ROI to a business for which you can sell them on. So for example, you can sell them on making X amount of money. So you work with a lot of e-com brands, the bigger brands. So would you say these guys are looking for social media management, or is it on the back burner since Facebook ads got so ramped up that social media management is on a back burner? Or would you say the bigger brands still are looking forward to posting on their social media?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I don't know if I'm the best person to ask because I have no idea about kind of I know how active they are, but I don't know how much of an issue it is. I think the biggest thing for you is going to be eliminating an issue. If it's an issue for the client, they're going to pay you. You can't, as I say, or as you mentioned, you can't sell it on a return. But you could sell it on like a convenience thing, an efficiency thing, taking a huge load off their shoulders. Now, in terms of how much of a burden it is to them to manage their socials and whatnot, I'm not too sure. I know a lot of clients or certain clients are a lot more active than others. So I definitely think I can think of one in my mind. Every time I go on Facebook or whatever, there's a story from them. They're very, very active. So I think for clients like that, it could definitely do well. And I think that's obviously should come into your qualifications and whatnot. But yeah, I'm not too sure in terms of how much of a burden, as I say, it is. And I think it needs to be a very, very prevalent issue for them to comfortably pay you X amount a month. For example, perfect example, you say you watch my YouTube videos, which are super, I hope you're finding value and whatnot. But my YouTube videos, I have an editor for them. Now, he doesn't have a direct ROI for me, but he takes a huge load off my shoulders every single month because all I do is sit down, record the video, and I don't touch it until it goes live. And at that point, I still don't touch it. I just see it goes live. So that's a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. And I'm more than happy. I pay him, I think it's like $700-800 a month. I'm more than happy to pay that, because it takes an issue off my shoulders.
Yeah, I totally understand. Thanks for that. And also you mentioned the VSL. So I watched your YouTube video where you mentioned that you've gone from a direct sales call to a VSL, sending your client through a VSL first, and then letting them book a call. Like you mentioned, your Facebook organic method being one of your main methods with email marketing. So would you say your call rate has dropped, or you've gotten much better people to get on calls because of the VSL, or would you still prefer directly booking in a call on a Facebook organic post or on a email marketing? What would you say has been your split test in terms of what you prefer to do?
So when you say email, are you referring to outreach, like outbound?
Yeah.
So we never sell that. We never send them to a VSL through that. I like to do some sort of like PS. So like a little thing that I've been doing recently is like a PS section to send them over to the page, whether they watch it and convert or not. Obviously if they can convert, that's amazing, but I'm not too bothered because they're going to get pixeled. And then I've got them, right? And if they do convert, that's amazing. And oftentimes they do convert because it is a very, very powerful sales page. I don't send them to the opt-in though. I send them directly to the VSL. For the Facebook side of things, I've always done both. I've always done a mixture. I've done straight to, just the schedule page to book in a call. And I've also done the sales, the VSL itself. That has done really well though. I will say it's super powerful when you can create them properly. And you, as I say, you create them correctly, they can be very, very powerful. Like as I said before, we had a client or a prospect booking a call, 1.6 million followers. I don't know where they came from. They came through that sales process, but I don't know where they came from. So this was a complete random person, right? We didn't reach out to them. There was a complete random person and they came through that sales process and they booked in a call. I have no idea who they are. So it does do very well, but it has to be created correctly and it has to be used in the right scenarios. Like I say, if you send like email outreach, you do email outreach and you send them to an opt-in page, it's not going to do very well. Whereas if you send paid traffic to an opt-in page, it does tremendously well.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. We got time for maybe 1-2 more questions for Kai, and then at the end, Kai, I'd love for you to go ahead and plug your YouTube channel for everybody who's not already on it. So couple last questions. Anybody have? I know Trim joined a bit late, but Trim has, I think, like 3 or 4 clients, right? Trim in the e-com space. You're muted.
Oh, I know Trim.
You're muted, Trim. Trim, you're muted. You're still muted, buddy. No, but you're muted.
Sorry.
Go.
I'm fucking tired as hell. Sorry. Yeah. So I was supposed to have 4. One of them are still on the back burner, but I have 3 clients. My media buyer is I don't know. That's the thing. I only have 1 media buyer. We're not getting crazy results, which is why I'm working so goddamn much. But yeah, question is, how long would you wait until you think about getting another media buyer? If it was, because I don't know if it's the results, is the brand bad? Is he bad? Is like, what is wrong? I don't know. We are getting some results, but like I've been like a huge impact to, like, if I just tell him to do whatever, he normally doesn't do too good. At least until this point, that makes sense.
So you've got to give a lot of inputs for him to do stuff.
Yeah, basically.
That in and of itself is one of the biggest things. Like, you shouldn't have to, and this is what I was saying before, like about work ethic and initiative and whatnot. They should be in the account, whether the results are good or bad. It's a part, obviously, but sometimes it's going to be very, very difficult to get client results, especially inside of the first month. It's pretty difficult, right? You don't know what to do, or you don't know what's working, what doesn't, all that type of stuff. So you can't really look at the results inside the first 30 days, but you need to look at what's going on, right? They should be in the ad account on a daily basis, figuring out why stuff's working, why it isn't, what they can do to change it, different ideas, them implementing on it without you saying anything. that's a good media buyer. As I say, whether they're getting good results or not, that can be taught. That comes with time. If it's somebody who's kind of more green to the process, that can come with time. But what can't come with time, really, is because, this is more ingrained, is the fact of them, being in the ad account, having that initiative, wanting to do more. What can I do? Why is this not working? Figuring it out, all that type of stuff. So as soon as you said that, he only does stuff when you tell him. That's never going to change. Whether it's the client, whether it's a good client or a bad client, whether you've got 10 clients or one client, it's never going to change. So I would definitely look at, having a look at bringing somebody new on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he does stuff, but it's like, for example, I mean, Facebook ads. I've gone through the Facebook part. And yeah, for example, like detailed targeting expansion, he always have that on, I think, or off. Yeah, on. And like all the ad copies, everything is just strange. I think he does a lot of work, but for example, we have got a clothing brand right now. He was so confident when we got him on, and he was like 3 weeks in, like, hey, I think I'm just going to restructure anything and do what Kai did in his course. And I'm like, holy shit, like you said you were confident, but you're getting like I think we have a 0.9 ROAS right now. And I hate that because I hate not happy clients, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a difficult one. I think it's going to, when it comes to this decision, it really is a gut feeling. It's not what you want to hear. I know you want me to tell you like some sort of formula or whatever, but it really comes down to the gut feeling and how you feel long term with this dude or girl. How do you really see them being that perfect cultural fit, perfect team member long term? I don't know, but from what you're saying, it doesn't sound like the perfect team member.
Yeah, I'll look into it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hopefully, as long as I just hope client results gets better, I guess. So I can start.
How many clients have you got? What are you basing this off of? What's the sample size?
Yeah, so we got 3 clients right now. We're supposed to have 4, but the other is not responding at all. I talked to you about this on Instagram. 3 clients right now. The one client is a Norwegian one, is doing good. The other one is kind of a snack. You got a unique selling point, food brand. That one is doing good. I had like a 5 in ROAS, but now we try to scale. The results dipped. I write all the copies. I write all the ad copy, and now we got the clothing brand, and that is doing worse. I do got 3 sales calls this week. No, 2 sales calls this week. So I'm just like, for example, this skincare brand that I have a meeting with today. Like, I don't want to do like a 4K deal and give him responsibility of anything. And that also goes to shits. Like, we have 3 clients. None of them are scaled. Like, none of the clients are scaled. So I don't really have any proof of concept off the media buyer yet. And I don't know what to look for, if that makes sense.
What's the spend?
So right now we're spending around 2K a month for 2K a month for both of the clients. And I think it's 2K. Oh yeah, we're at $100 a day, $150 a day on all clients right now.
And so you're like, what, 3 to 5 ROAS on the 2 that are doing well?
Yeah, on the 2 that's doing well.
Yeah. I mean, that's good numbers, right? I know a lot of the time I do it myself. You push your 15 ROAS, your 20 ROAS or whatever. But on an average client, it's going to be anywhere from 3 to 7 ROAS, average numbers. So they're good numbers. It's not at scale. So I definitely would try and see if you can start to push the scale, try to get to like 500 a day. If you can hit 500 a day on like a 3 to 5 ROAS, that's good numbers. For the clothing brand, the fact that you've just said that you've got 2 clients that are doing well and the clothing brand isn't doing as well, that makes sense. From our experience, we've always found clothing brands are very, very difficult. Obviously, your good friend, Ronnie, he's got clothing clients. He's crushing it, right?
I know, it's crazy.
He told me a couple of his ROAS and whatnot, like it's insane. But that's very much a unicorn client. It's very, very much a unicorn client. Fashion is one that we've always struggled with. So to me, that makes sense that's difficult. You do need to, as I say, factor in the fact that it does take a certain client to be able to warrant good results. And I think that it's 2 to 1 is not a bad, it's not a bad ratio. I do think he can get good results. I would try and look at scaling now and see how that goes. And obviously go through the necessary iterations. If he tries to scale once and it kind of breaks or whatever, just go through a couple of iterations and whatnot. So on the media buying side, I would say is probably okay. But I don't know from the team member side. And obviously, my stance on that. I think the team member side is far more important than the media buying side. So as I say, it still comes down to gut feeling though.
Yeah. Last quick one, like yes or no question. Should I still focus because I find myself working too much on the service delivery side and the outreach part is kind of pushed back since clients are not performing. Yeah. Should I still do outreach every single day and focus on that a lot and just kind of trust my media buyer, or should I still be on my account, client accounts all day and try to make it work somehow? What's your thoughts on
that? The infrastructure needs to be there when you're ramping. As I said before, I don't know if you were on the call at that point, but I just went through a period where I didn't sign I signed one client for 2-3 months, something like that, right? And the reason I went through that period where I wasn't really focusing on client acquisition whatsoever, actually, was simply so that I built the infrastructure to enable us to ramp up, which is now kind of where we're going. We signed 4 clients this month in Feb, right? So again, it kind of comes down to how you feel. Do you think the infrastructure is there for you to bring on 3 more clients, 4 more clients? Or do you think you're kind of at cap right now and you need to restructure it? Or if you feel as though you're at cap right now, you need to restructure the processes and the system in the back end, right? How can you, the first thing I can tell you right now, you shouldn't be in ad accounts. If you've got a media buyer on board who's technically ramped, you shouldn't be in ad accounts. As I said before I brought on this new media buyer, I'd never ran an ad for a year, and that's how it should be when you have a good team member. Whereas now I'm very much in ad accounts and whatnot. It's only because I'm ramping, but as soon as he comes out of the ramping phase, I won't touch an ad again. So if he's technically fully ramped, he should be in an ad account. So that again should kind of give you an idea on what you should do with him.
Okay, awesome.
But in saying that, as a direct answer to your question, I went off a bit of a tangent there, but I always recommend you still do a little bit of outreach. Maybe you're not doing your 50 a day or your 30 a day, but 5-10 a day, it's going to help with that lead flow. If you can just even book 2 meetings a week, right? 1-2 meetings a week, it's going to keep your pipeline somewhat solid. You don't want to go through a phase where you're completely dry. And the other thing as well is you can do your outreach and just save them for later, and in terms of, you don't need to sign them on right now, but in 2 months when you're ready to ramp, you can just, go back and hit that list back up and whatnot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Kai, really appreciate you hopping on today. It's really great to hear your response to all these questions and talk to you, and also just instill some innovation. We got people in this group at 0 up to about 15K a month. So people at all different points, but everybody's looking to grow. So It's been awesome. I've gone ahead and linked Kai's YouTube channel, Instagram, and his free training. I will say, Kai, I'm going to plug you pretty hard here. Your free training has been the best one I've been through, actually, in terms of free trainings from entrepreneurs. You and Alex Berman are tied in terms of free training. So
okay,
highly recommend everybody go through that.
I appreciate that. I'm coming out with new stuff. That stuff's pretty old. So the fact that it's you still find value in it, that's awesome to hear.
All right, awesome.
I also want to tell you guys, just keep doing your email criticisms. I really love those YouTube videos. I feel like it gives a really nice perspective to different type of emails. And one of my favorite videos, I think a lot of people do enjoy that. So just keep doing that. I
appreciate that feedback. I've not done one in a while. But yeah, that definitely gives me the motivation to do it. It's good to hear that you find value in those, man. For sure.
All right, awesome. Well, everybody have a good rest of their Mondays. I'll talk to everybody on Tuesday. And thank you again, Mr. Kai, for coming on and sharing. I'll get you this recording as well.
Yeah, perfect. Cool. It was good to speak to you all. Wish you the best of luck.